Greg, you want to talk about what you've been playing?
Yeah, sure. So I fired up Moss Book 2. Although right after I bought it is when they announced that it's coming out on Oculus.
Well, it's coming out
okay.
in summer. Yeah,
I know.
on Oculus. So not
so
for a while.
I had picked it up back when it came out, actually, and I just hadn't had a chance to hook it up. I think I mentioned it on the show a couple weeks ago where not that I've spent a lot of time with the Oculus where it's my son's. I know he's played it a lot, but boy, do you ever appreciate the simplicity of just being able to pull the thing on your head and not have to hook it up to anything.
I love it.
Whereas, of course, with the PlayStation VR, you're still dealing with jump box and you're dealing with having to have the external camera set up and all that sort of thing. So it's enough of a barrier that it's not, you have to plan to play it, I guess, is kind of the thing. It's not like a couple of years back where I still had all of it just hooked up and ready to go at all times. But so I did finally do that this week. I had a little bit of spare time through the week, so we got everything out and hooked it all up. And man, it's just the game is as charming as you remember Moss being just right from the start. It's like it felt like I never left. It literally picks up directly after the end of the first game. I would have to go back and check, but excuse me, I'm pretty sure you're on the same screen that you finished the last game in. And
in that church or whatever, the library.
Yeah, with the dead, you're there with the dead final boss, basically the snake boss that that's where you are. So it picks up directly there, and it's still under the premise of you're reading a book. Like every time you go to a new screen, you hear a page flip and that sort of thing. And every now and then you're brought back out to the library, and of course it kind of changes based on the happenings in the worlds that you've been in. Mm-hmm. The whole thing is narrated, and the narrator also does all the character voices. Like, it's just so charming. What I'm trying to remember, and I meant to go back and do this before we recorded tonight, and I just didn't get a chance. It feels like with this game that you as the reader, so I guess for anyone who doesn't know, so Moss is basically an action platformer, but it's played in single screens, sort of like you're in a diorama. You play as this little mouse with a sword and the whole thing is that you are the reader, and you're sort of this giant omnipotent sort of being that's looking down on these little dioramas, and you're controlling the mouse character.
Yep.
Quill, thank you. You're controlling Quill, but you're there. You are a part of the world, and she's aware of you being there, and the other characters are aware of you being there, and you do have a little bit of control with the way you heal her is by you have a dual shock, and so you have a little sphere that's on screen, and you can have her enter the sphere, and then you hold down your shoulder buttons and it'll heal her up, little things like that. And you can grab enemies and influence them. You can drag them around, or there's an enemy now. And again, I can't remember if this was something that was in the previous game, but an enemy that's almost like an inchworm, and if you grab it and you can pull its tail back and aim it and then let it go, and it'll roll into a ball and just ricochet all over the place. And there's actually puzzles that require the use of that enemy. Or there are mortar firing enemies now that you can also grab them and actually control where the mortar fires as well. So, but it feels like in general that aspect of the game has been really ratcheted up this time around, and I don't remember it being as much before. Now you're actually unlocking abilities, you're going outside. I think the first game took place mostly walking up to a castle and then getting into the castle.
Correct.
Now you're sort of teleporting all over these different worlds, and these green lush world that you're in at one point, and you earn the ability to create bridges by growing them, and also if normally Quill can climb ivy and stuff like that, and you might see walls that have just vines with no foliage on them, and you can, by touching that, you can actually create foliage that she can climb and things. So there's a lot more of that going on than in the previous game, and I'm really digging it. It's and I don't normally go for that sort of stuff, but it really works. And it definitely makes some of the puzzles and some of the battles a little more frenetic, because it's kind of, at first, it's hard to wrap your head around the fact that while you're doing sort of the motion control stuff with your controller, usually with your shoulder buttons, you still have to pay attention to what Quill's doing and what position she's in, and make sure you don't leave her in a dangerous spot, or, she might be in the middle of being attacked and that sort of thing too. So, and it's almost like basically anything to do with the face buttons and the control sticks is Quill, and anything to do with the shoulder buttons and the motion is you as the reader. But it really works. I am really, really liking it. And the only regret I have about not waiting to play it on Oculus is I would love to see everything at a slightly higher resolution than what I'm seeing here. But it's still beautiful. And I don't know how far I am. It feels like there's a bit of a branching path thing happening too that I haven't confirmed yet, but it just feels like a much more intricate game than the first one. And but yeah, where I really, really enjoyed the first game, this is absolutely delivering. It doesn't feel like exactly the same thing, but it still feels like the first game enough that it's like, yeah, I'm just charmed completely out of my socks while I'm playing it. If there's anything not to complain about, but one of the things that I found is like when I'm playing this game, I'm sitting down. You would never want to stand up playing this game.
No.
I'm sitting down and I'm in like an easy chair, and the way the world is around you, you're always looking down on the world, obviously, and you need to be able to, but I find that there are a lot of things I have to manipulate, that like the arms of the chair are always right in the way. To the point that what I found is really helpful actually is to, of course, if you hold the start button or option, whatever that's called, you sort of recenter your view on the PlayStation VR. And I've actually found that it helps to just lean forward a little bit and recenter the view a little bit further out from you. But that can translate into having to reach really far into a scene if you need to manipulate something that's near the back of the scene.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, I'm really enjoying it a lot. I'm so happy for it. And I know, CJ, that I think you played the previous one. No, you didn't.
I did.
Okay.
I played Moss when I got the MetaQuest. Yeah. Which now it's called the MetaQuest, not the Oculus Quest.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, when I picked up a Quest 2,
how dare you?
Moss was one of the games that I was looking forward to playing the most, and I did. I finished that game and the bonus content that
I don't think I ever played the bonus content
they released for it. Yeah, it's like a mini campaign within the original Moss.
Yeah, a much bigger cast of characters this time around.
Awesome.
Which that's the other thing I'm really digging about it. So yeah, highly recommend. I mean, I hope you were just going to buy it anyway, but anyone
definitely. No question.
Who hasn't tried them before, play the first one. Because of this game assumes that you've played the first one. I think that's worth knowing. So, and I'm sure it's not that expensive at this point anyway. I don't think it was ever that expensive, to be honest. But really, definitely play the first one. You're not missing out on anything. The gameplay is pretty much the same from at least the hack and slash puzzle solving element. But highly recommend you play the first, which is only like 5 hours long. I think it's not very long.
It's not long. Right?
And I feel like this one's probably longer, but I'm not sure about that. But and I would just jump right into the next one, to be honest.
Well, I have to imagine that they're going to, they'll release the Quest 2 version in the summer. I have to imagine that Moss, but maybe both of them are going to come out for PSVR 2. Or,
could be.
At least if there's any backwards compatibility with that.
I've just been assuming backwards compatibility, but
me too.
I have no basis for that.
If that's where you're jumping into VR, definitely keep Moss on your list of games to play, because it is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. So looking forward to continuing to play through it. Yeah, I just so happy with it. So happy with it, because Moss was such a wonderful surprise when I played it the first time. And when I learned, I think when I finished, that was when I I went and looked it up and learned that they are working on book 2, but there was no information about it back when that happened. So,
yeah.
And this almost felt like it shadow dropped. It just came out of nowhere. Maybe I wasn't paying close enough attention, but it's like, oh wait, Moss 2's out. Okay.
Yeah. I think they announced it like a month before it came out.
Okay.
Sony will have these occasional days on Twitter where they're like, we're going to announce 6 new PSVR games, right? And that was one of those games. So
yeah. No, it was great. It's really great. I can't say enough about it.
I really hope that PSVR 2 has backwards compatibility.
But I was playing actually today. It's been a while, and I fired up Moss Book 2 again. And fell in love with it all over again. That is a great game. When is that coming out on Oculus or whatever it's called now? The Quest?
Summer.
You guys have to get
they've
that.
Said. Summer 2022.
You have to get that.
Phil,
Phil, you have to get that.
I am going to buy it immediately.
It's currently on my wish list.
There you go.
It's on my wish list as well.
CJ, you need to play the first one.
I did. I finished it.
Oh, I didn't know if you'd finished it or not.
I finished it on Quest.
Good.
We talked about it on the show.
I don't listen when you talk about what you
finished the DLC that you guys had no idea existed.
Yeah,
That's not important.
I gotta replay through it on the Quest so I can do the DLC.
Oh, it's so good. And well, the DLC is it's intertwined into the game. So,
is it now?
Yeah, you'll just see it. Yeah.
Well, even better.
Twilight Garden. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So I think I'm getting near. I think I'm into like the final phases of the game at this point. And I don't remember, and maybe CJ, you will remember this, but there's a lot of inventory. I'm swapping between 3 different weapons right now.
There was none of that in the first game.
Yeah, I didn't think so. So yeah, it's a major change. Like they've definitely gone sort of given it a bit of a Metroid vibe because. And when you start playing it, you'll see it. You'll sort of recognize it almost immediately. You'll just see things that are like markings and things on the ground. Because I mean, the last game was good about this too, where there's just hints as to like you can do something here. You know what I mean? But you don't necessarily know what it is, and you learn pretty quickly that the areas that you kind of can't get to early on are based on there's an ability or an item that you don't have yet. So it's a very Metroid vibe.
Mostroidvania?
Yes, exactly. And so I'm kind of like in that phase now where I think I've got everything. I'm not seeing anything that I sort of can't access at this point, but it's also really enticing me to jump back a bunch of chapters and, get into and find all the extra collectibles and stuff like that. But I think her inventory now is quite full, so I'm pretty sure that I'm sort of pushing toward the end game now. But man, that game just doesn't stop being pretty, even on the PSVR, which is like low res, and like it's just such a pretty game. But it's been a while since I played it, and I mentioned this the last time I talked about it. I really can't wait for PSVR 2.
Yeah.
Just because the simplicity, especially with the Quest, having the Quest now, the simplicity of just sort of pulling it on your head and turning it on as opposed to, I'm still connecting a jump box and a camera and, the different kinds of controllers and stuff like that. And it's a big enough barrier to entry that I don't want to do it. If I have half an hour to play, I don't want to spend 10 minutes setting it all up. So that's why I haven't really touched it for quite a while. So, but hopefully I can get through it maybe this week or next. So, but yeah, still a really beautiful cool little game. The other new thing that I tried this week, well, new to me, I finished Moss Book 2.
Hey,
Excellent game.
Now do we want to spoil whether or not this actually concludes the story? Do you figure there'll be a book 3 at the end of this?
Yeah, they left the door open for it. I mean, the story concludes, but then there's I don't know if it's post credits, but there's a scene right at the end, which is just like, oh, this isn't really over right now.
Okay.
So
okay, well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
And I really truly hope that there is a book 3 because, I mean, I've said this before a couple of times where I've been playing this the last couple of weeks, and I loved the first game, and they really, really went for it this time. I think there's, Quill has multiple weapons now. You as the reader, which is of course the player's sort of role in the game, have a lot more to do, which I used to, I think would be really easy to get wrong, and because in the world, your DualShock controller is just a little ball of light, and you can do simple things like when Quill is hurt, if you reach down and you like squeeze the trigger while the ball of light is on her and hold it for a couple seconds, you heal her. And then there are, every now and then, not too many of them, but like block puzzles where you need to grab things and manipulate them in the world, right? But it's not an overwhelming amount. But they actually, and I can't remember if this is a thing they did in the previous game, but the weapons that she has, based on the story, upgrade to the point that they'll unlock different abilities, but it depends on you sort of helping her out by manipulating the weapons or doing the charge up and things like that. And like I say, normally I'm not crazy about that sort of thing, but in this game, it didn't bother me at all. It's just super charming, just like the last game was. But the gameplay, I think they ratcheted it up and they did it in a really great way. It's very solid. It's very intuitive. The puzzles can be a little bit, definitely a little bit challenging every now and then, but never to the point where you're, if you stop and think for a few minutes, like you will get through it, right? Like it's not one of those, oh my God, I got to go to the internet. This is stupid. I'll never figure this out. Like that never happens. So, and it's relatively short. The boss fights I really liked this time around as well. So yeah, I'm just in general big fan of this. It's what I wanted from a Moss sequel. It expanded what the first one was, and it did it in a really smart way, in a really enjoyable way. So yeah, highly recommend.
Okay.
Cannot wait for it
Nice.
to hit the Oculus.